Cap City, what's going on? It's your girl D here, bringing you a Mercury retrograde reading combined with the Sagittarius lunar eclipse reading. We're combining them together because Mercury's in Gemini, Mercury's in retrograde in Gemini, and the lunar eclipse is in Sagittarius. And when you look at the charts, an astrological chart, or any chart that you pull up, Gemini is always the opposite polarity of Sagittarius. So this is why I'm doing them together in one video. So I'm going to get your cards out, and then we're going to see what's going on. But in the meantime, I need to tell you that this is going to be a general read, so please take what does resonate, leave the rest. This may not be a reading for everybody or every Capricorn, but take what resonates, leave the rest. If you need a personal, I'm at 8thhouseenergy@gmail.com. Okay, we got people riding past with their music. Let me see what they playing. Is it anything good? Nah, don't sound like anything good, so I don't even know who it is. Some of these some of this music that's out here today, I can't even tell who's singing. Like, and that's terrible, because when I you know, when I was heavy into, you know, what was going on, it was a lot of originality. Like, I grew up in an era where it was just like, I grew up in the era where I was in my teens in the late 80s, and in the 90s I was in my 20s. Music was real back then. You had all kinds of creative, original people, and they all, you know, had their own original style. You could tell who it was by listening to them. Now you can't tell who, you know, you can't tell. But at any rate, I digress. Let's get back to what's going on. So let me get the cards ready, and then we will hop right into this. Okay, so before we get into the cards, I just want to show you something here. For those of you who are not too familiar with astrology or have some knowledge, you know when you draw a chart, right? Whether it's on a computer or whether you just draw it by hand. You have 12, you draw a circle and you divide it into 12 sections, because with astrology, we have 12 different areas in our life. Okay, so each of these areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, represent the 12 areas of our life. We know that Aries rules the first house. The second house is Taurus. The third house is Gemini. The fourth house is, oh my God, I get brain fart. I don't know why. Okay, so Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and then Pisces. That's when you draw a general regular chart, and Aries is in the first house. Now, because you're Capricorn, when you look at your chart, you're going to put Capricorn, if you're a Capricorn sun sign, you're going to put Capricorn in the first house. This is why, you know, you'll never hear me as a reader say, oh, well, this person may have such and such in their chart. They may have Gemini in it. Everybody has everything in their chart. It doesn't matter what your sun sign is. If you put it here and you figure out everything else, everybody has everything in their chart. Okay? It just is what it is. So, you know, unfortunately, maybe you're dealing with, tarot readers who may not know a lot about astrology. But just so you know, this is you, Capricorn. You're in the first house. So because Capricorn is here, the next sign that comes after Capricorn is what? Aquarius. After Aquarius is what? Pisces. After Pisces is what? Aries. After Aries is what? Taurus. After Taurus is what? Gemini. So because Mercury retrograde is in Gemini, you're dealing with the sixth house. So Gemini is in your sixth house. All right? So after Gemini comes Cancer. After Cancer comes Leo. After Leo comes Virgo. After Virgo comes Libra. After Libra comes Scorpio. And after Scorpio comes Sag. So we're dealing with Sag. The lunar eclipse is in your 12th house. Okay. And the Mercury retrograde is in your 6th house. So no matter where Sagittarius is in any chart, the opposite side of it is going to be Gemini. Okay, so this is why I'm doing these in the same, these readings in the same reading. So with you being here in the first house as a Capricorn sun sign, you have Sagittarius in your 12th house. So this is where the lunar eclipse is going to be for you. Now, the 12th house has to do with karma. It has to do with hidden enemies. It has to do with psychic abilities. It has to do with forms of escapism. And then we have the opposite polarity, which is the sixth house. The sixth house deals with work ethic. So the opposite of having a work ethic and having discipline is the 12th house, using escapism, meaning that you're escaping from doing work. So this is the house of work. This is the house of escapism. With the sixth house, you're dealing with your open enemies. With this 12th house, you're dealing with hidden enemies. Okay, so this is why, and you can do this with each sign, and it'll be opposite polarity, right? So these are some of the things that you're going to be dealing with. So you're going to be dealing with work. You're going to be dealing with your work ethic. You're going to be dealing with discipline. You're going to be dealing with health. Okay, what we have Gemini in retrograde here. So when Gemini goes in retrograde, Gemini makes you stop and think. Sometimes Gemini clogs your thought process, so you don't want to start anything new. So you guys may have a difficult time starting a health regimen right now. Mercury is going to be in retrograde from May 29th through June 22nd. But just keep in mind, with any retrograde, we have a pre-shadow period, which is 2 weeks prior to the original date it goes into retrograde. So if it goes into retrograde on May 29th, 2 weeks prior to that is about May 15th, May 16th. So the pre-shadow stage begins around May 15th, May 16th. The post-shadow period, since Mercury comes out of retrograde June 22nd, we have a 2-week post-shadow period where the energies can still be felt. So from 2 weeks after June 22nd is about July 6th or July 5th, around that time frame. So you can feel these retrograde energies of Mercury from as early as May 16th and as late as July 6th, okay? So we will be in those energies during that time. And while we're in these energies during this time, it would be beneficial for you to, now some of you may feel like, okay, well, I need to start a new health plan. I need to eat better. I need to start a new workout plan. This is a good time for you to plan how you're going to implement that, how you're going to put it into play, in opposed to trying to start it right now. Because anything you start right now, especially with Mercury in retrograde, it may not last long. All right, so this talks about new jobs. So if you can hinder or hold back on starting a new job, maybe you apply for a job and they call you, you could take the job, but depending on what, there could be, the universe may make an exception for you. I'm not sure. But a lot of times, anything that you start in Mercury retrograde is short-lived, including relationships. All right. So the opposite energy of that is the 12th house. So we're dealing with the lunar eclipse here. So a lunar eclipses deal with closing out negative emotions and feelings that you had a hard time dealing with. Okay, so the example I give is if you're in a work or a relationship, right? Mercury deals with the logical mind. Sagittarius deals with the higher mind. Okay, Mercury deals with your environment as far as when it's in Gemini, where you grew up at. It deals with short distance travel. Okay, within your work environment, where some of you maybe you're considering working overseas, or you're considering working remotely where you can connect with people overseas. All right. But at any rate, so with Mercury retrograde here in the 6th house, what we're doing is we're looking at situations of your health. Okay. So you're evaluating, hey, are you eating right? If not, why? And how can you implement the change? Are you working out the way you should? If not, why? And how can you implement that change? What's going on with the work environment? If you're currently employed someplace and you're not happy there, why are you still there? Right? Maybe it's because you're looking for another job and you haven't found one yet. Okay? So we're looking at energies like that with the 6th house. Okay? In reference to your work environment. Maybe, your work environment is now dangerous, or it's not something that you're comfortable with, and you may want to change it. If you are a business owner, you could be looking at, okay, well, I want entrepreneurship, or I want to start my own business, but, maybe you don't have the discipline, or you may feel that your work ethic has slowed down a bit. It's only because of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is a time of planning. So if you're trying to be that entrepreneur, or you're starting a new project at work, this is not the time to start it. This is the time to plan. Anything that has to do with the 6th house, your health, work ethic, discipline, colleagues, the relationship between your colleagues and employees, or your partnerships, this is the time to reevaluate them and not to act on anything. So even if you're thinking about quitting a job, evaluate why you want to quit and evaluate what type of work you would like to do or what other company you would like to work for. But this is the time to think about it. So once we get to the first week of July, after you've thought about it between now and then, you're able to implement whatever it is that you've thought about or whatever plans you put in place because you had time to think about what you needed. Now, the reason you want to stop and think about it is because there could be some emotional attachment as to why you're not happy where you are, or why you haven't been working out the way you want to, or why you haven't been eating the way you want to, or why, this is also the house of open enemies. So you could be dealing with someone who you know is an opponent at work, or you could be dealing with a friend or a family member who you know is an opponent. Okay, it's no secret that you two don't get along, type of thing, right? So over here, when we're dealing with the lunar energies of the lunar eclipse, the lunar eclipse comes around to clear out any negative emotions or negative feelings in reference to what's been going on. So with that being said, an example that I give when I try to describe this, how the logical mind works and how the higher mind works is, information comes into the logical mind first. Mercury deals with the logical thoughts. It does not deal with emotions and feelings. So when Mercury goes into retrograde, any thoughts that you have that are attached to feelings that you have not gotten over, or you can't figure out, or you haven't processed yet, Mercury retrograde is going to bring that to the forefront of your mind. So this is why things are going to start coming to your mind. So if you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I need to work on in the area of the sixth house? What is important? What should I be focusing on with Mercury retrograde? Don't worry. Mercury retrograde will bring that energy to your thoughts. You'll be thinking about it often. So between now and July 5th or 6th, when the post-shadow period ends, whoever or whatever you've been thinking about the most in terms of your job, in terms of career aspirations, in terms of discipline, in terms of maybe your pets even, because pets rule the sixth house as well, or ruled by the sixth house, and your open enemies. So you'll have time with Mercury retrograde to really reflect on these things and see what type of emotional hangups you have about these. Because once you clear out the emotional hangups, and basically clearing out the emotional hangups means looking at the situation and learning from it. What have you learned from this situation? And when you figure out what you've learned, then what it does is it comes from the logical mind and it goes into the higher mind as wisdom. Because, wisdom comes from experiencing things and learning from them. Okay? Wisdom is different than an experience. Okay? You have an experience, but what you learn from it is what wisdom is. So we're going from learning what it is that you still have emotional ties to that could be holding you back in the areas of the sixth house, and dealing with the emotions involved, maybe saying, okay, I know what I did wrong, or you know what, I ignored red flags, or you know what, I just didn't want, I didn't have time to actually grieve, or I didn't really have time to deal with it emotionally because life happens. And, now I need to sit down and actually, sort my feelings out in reference to it. This is what Mercury retrograde is all about. And once you sort your feelings out about it, then it will be moved out of the logical mind, because there's no room for feelings here. It'll be moved out of the logical mind and be sent to the higher mind or the subconscious mind. And it'll sit there as wisdom. So you tap into this energy here in your 12th house because you're looking at, okay, because, Sagittarius deals with your religious or spiritual beliefs. If you're not a religious person or a spiritual person, say you don't believe in God or a higher being, then it deals with your philosophy on life, how you see things, right? And so a lot of you are going to be dealing with the emotions and feelings that you get here that you have unresolved. It could be because you need to change your philosophy or your way of looking at it, change your perspective on it. Okay. And when we deal with the 12th house, this is where cycles come to die. So all outdated views, all outdated ways of looking at things are going to come to die here. So this is how you're going to use this energy. All right. So when we're talking about Mercury is in your 6th house. So we're looking at the symbol of thoraces, okay? This is a rune, R-U-N-E, all right? So we're using a different form of divination. Runes are symbols that have certain meanings. Traditionally, you could find these symbols when you buy runes. You would buy stones, and you would see that the symbol would be carved on the stone. And The divination would be you throwing the stones out and seeing which ones come out and reading them. Well, we have them on cards now. So this particular symbol is what's coming out for your sixth house energy. So we have, it's called Thurizaz. Thurizaz. All right, so here is the definition of Thurizaz. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. You can pause this and check it out. So it's Thor's hammer. It talks about protection, regeneration, justice, defense, guardian, righteous, purposeful destruction, defense and protection, getting justice, love relationships, a force for good, righteous anger, fighting back, protecting what you cherish, and good defense. Okay, so this talks about defending yourself. Now remember, this is in the sixth house. And remember when I said the sixth house has to do with open enemies. It has to do with taking care of, it has to do with your health as well. So for some of you, what you're doing is you're going to be defending yourself. When you use this Mercury retrograde energy, you're going to be reflecting on how can I defend myself from open enemies, which may be your, one of your employers or your colleagues. It might be a business partner who is clear that this person, there's no sugarcoating it. There's no pretending. You two are enemies. So you're going to be looking at how to fight back. Okay, because we're dealing with fighting back, right? We're also dealing with protecting what you cherish. So for some of you, protecting your health, okay, because the health is in the sixth house. So protecting your health, looking at ways that you can eat better, work out better. The sixth house also deals with discipline, okay? So it also talks about guardian. So some of you may be looking at how you could be more disciplined, okay? And protecting yourself and protecting your connections. Now we have that clarified with the Three of Cups in reverse. So what I'm getting with this Three of Cups energy here is for some of you, you are not going to be, this could be a ex-friend or ex, people coming back towards you, exes from the past. You are not going to be reconnecting with them, or it's recommended that you should not. Okay. Now, Cap City, I've been telling you this since last year. Some of you have taken heed and you've not reconnected with past people. And so, you're not in the comments or you're not, dealing with any past energies anymore. For those of you who, you fell victim or you fell victim in reference to past people coming back, you know how that turned out. It did not turn out well, right? So for a lot of you, you're still going to have people test. The universe is going to be testing you again, sending people back. Now, Cap City, the reason you're being tested is because you have to exercise discipline. Okay? You have to exercise discipline and you have to protect yourself from people who are only around to take advantage of you. So what you're going to be looking at is the relationships that you've had that have failed in whatever area of your life, maybe your work relationships, or, there could be some colleagues or business partners where, these people have let you know that they're against you, but you still stay at this job. You can have a boss who's an asshole, but you still stay at this job. Well, I've been here 20 years. Why should I leave? Things like that. I mean, that's up to you to decide what to do. But I mean, if you're really going to continue to put yourself in a position where you're going to be miserable and you're not going to be happy, some of you are drinking because of this. When the universe is clearly showing you that this is not where they want you to be, the universe, when they put someone in your life to teach you a lesson, it doesn't care about the 3D realm in reference to, well, I've been at this job for 50 years and, I hate my job. It's like, that's the saddest thing, is to be at a job that long and you absolutely hate your job, you hate your employees, you hate what you do, but because you've invested so much time in a situation, you feel that justifies you staying there. That's going to be a decision that you're going to have to make. But at the same time, for a lot of you, the situation is affecting your health. So are you weighing, okay, well, I've been here for 20 years versus, this is the only body I have and it's causing me a lot of stress. I drink a lot. I drink because of this job. I can't stand it. Or, it's like you have to defend your health at this point. Okay? You have to fight back by considering leaving. Okay? The universe is going to bless you, whatever you decide to do as far as leaving. But as long as you stay in this situation, your health is going to suffer. And a lot of you know exactly what I'm saying, and you've probably cussing me out through the screen right now. But if you stop and put your emotions to the side and look at what's been going on, what you've been experiencing, you know once you calm down after cussing me out, that what I'm saying makes sense, right? You have to figure out a way to protect yourself and to protect your health so that this job or whatever it is that you're doing, this relationship, or, you know, for some of you, it's a lover that is now mad at you because you don't take them back with the Three of Cups in reverse. And so now they're waging an outright war against you, like literally. Some of you have kids with this person, and they every chance they get to throw a dagger at you, that's what they're going to do because you won't sleep with them anymore. Because you wise and I was going to say wizened up, but there's no such thing as that. You smartened up when it comes to dealing with them. You know that they have nothing to offer you, and they won't anytime soon. So you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. A lot of you were dealing with people at the job who are talking about you behind your back. The Three of Cups in reverse is fake friends. Some of you, even if it's not at the job, it's just open enemies. People that used to be cool with you and now they're not. And they're showing you that they're not. Because you've decided to walk away from them and you've decided to protect yourself. For some of you, you're in the midst of deciding to do that. And that's what you may need to do. Okay? So now when we talk about the solar eclipse. So I feel like for some of you, before we get to that, I feel like for some of you, you have emotional hangups and ties to this situation because you haven't let it go. Meaning that you're still dealing with these people or you still have an emotional tie to them. You're still angry and frustrated about it. You have to come to terms in some way and say, okay, what have I learned from this situation? Because that's the only way that these energies are going to be cleared out. So you're going to have to figure out what you learned from this situation, what you could have done differently. Had you had the opportunity to do this over, what would you have done differently? Yeah, I've been at this job for this plus years, but I hate my job and it makes me drink and my health, I'm stressed out. I can't sleep. My hair's falling out. I've gained so much weight because I'm eating, because I'm miserable and depressed. But I won't leave this job because I've been there this many years and it pays me this much money. The universe is going to sit down and is going to sit you down in some way, shape, or another and figure out, are you your own enemy? Okay? Because remember, when we're dealing with the sixth house, we're dealing with open enemies, which you know what is your enemy, versus you realizing that, okay, this is not hidden anymore, because the 12th house deals with hidden enemies. So it's going to be revealing to you who the real enemy is. And for some of you, it's you, because you won't let go of a situation, or you won't accept the fact that the situation is not going to go in your favor no matter what you're doing. Some of you have done everything you possibly can and you still having problems. That means you need to evacuate the situation. Now, when it comes to the solar eclipse energy in your 12th house, we're dealing with the symbol called Fehu. Fehu, excuse me. Here's the definition of Fehu. So you can pause this and check this out. But I'll read it to you. It talks about property. It talks about wealth, currency, liquid assets, fertility, prosperity, abundance, drawing money and wealth, financial insight, wisdom, projecting energy, abundant workings. Examine the purpose and nature of wealth. Effort pays off. Good financial management and material wealth. So this is what's in your 12th house. So we have that clarified with the Two of Wands in reverse. So for some of you, you're looking at this job as if this is where my currency comes from. This is what makes me prosperous. But because it's in the 12th house, and it's because it's stressing you out, and because you know it's time for you to leave, the 12th house is all about ending cycles. And the lunar eclipse is all about eclipsing negative emotions and feelings involved with closing out these cycles. So for some of you, you know it's time for you to go. You know it's time for you to leave. But for some of you, you have not made plans. Mercury in retrograde now is the time for you to make plans as to what you're going to do. With the Two of Wands in reverse, some of you feel stuck in this situation. But what's going to happen is, because it's dealing with the 12th house, if you don't make a decision to leave this environment that is not healthy for you, there's going to be some hidden enemies that are going to reveal themselves to you. You may think you know who doesn't like you, but there could be other people that you don't know, and what may happen is you may be exposed to that. So it's going to get to a point where you're going to have to make a decision about this position. Some of you already know what I'm talking about because you're already there. For some of you, maybe this don't make sense because maybe you think everything is good at your job and you're ignoring the red flags because, yo, I'm caking up here. I'm making money here. I'm not going nowhere. I got a good pension, blah, 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 woo, woo, woo. But for some of you, you know it's time to go. It's just that simple. For others of you, you could have some really serious health issues, right? And you may not know that there's also escapism being used too. Like I said, some of you are drinking a lot. Some of you are smoking. Whatever it is that you're doing to try to quell the energies that are bothering you because you're in an environment that you don't like, or because you are continuing to deal with people who you know don't like you, or you're continuing to work in environments where people hate you and you know they do, but you're just there for the money or what have you. This is what you're going to have to consider with the Two of Wands. For some of you, like, oh, I don't have an option. You do have an option. The option would be to go someplace else and leave. Okay? The option would be to retire early and then find another job someplace else. Now, it's up to you. Of course, you make your own decisions. But this is the energies that you're dealing with. Okay? Some of you, when you stop and use that Mercury retrograde energy, you're going to realize some things. You're going to try to figure out what you need to do. All right? Whew. All right, so let's see what energies you would need to consider putting in place in order to help you get past this. Some of you may have a sick pet that you unfortunately may have to put down. And my condolences go to you. You may have already experienced that, but some of you may have a sick pet who is just not going to get better. So I'm sorry to, but it's not like I'm telling you something you don't know. You would already know this. Some of you may find out some people have passed away or may pass away. Okay, so it's all about changing your outlook. This is the energy that you need to embody. Changing your outlook. You see under Ascendant, it says outlook. So this talks about world view, mission statement, expression, effect, role, mark, attitude, outer self, point of view, body image. This is about some of you who need to put in a new workout regimen or eat better. Aura, licenses, approach, impact, first impressions. So for some of you, it's all about changing your perspective on things, changing your outlook. Like I said, with the 12th house, the Sagittarius energy is all about changing your philosophy, changing your religious views or your spiritual views. Maybe some of you are having issues at work because you, one thing I know, I'm from the old school when it comes to the office politics. One thing you don't talk about is you don't talk about religion and you don't talk about politics. You have some people who break those rules. Well, let me tell you what happens when you break those rules. You create hidden enemies at the job. Some of them are upfront enemies where you have, you know that this person don't like you and you don't like their views. But for a lot of you, you're going to have people who they're going to put a little notch in it like, oh, okay, she's this. Okay, I don't like her. And you know they have office politics. So when it comes to a raise or, trying to elevate, they can hold that shit against you. This is why you don't talk about those things at the job. Yeah, oh, well, if they do that, that's discriminate. But can you prove it's discriminate? No, you can't prove it. People know exactly what to do to get right on that fence before they cross over as far as breaking the law. And that's what most people do. They ride the fence. So you're not going to be able to prove it. And if you do prove it, you're going to be so stressed out sticking around trying to collect evidence that your health is going to suffer. For some of you, that's what you're experiencing. Your health is suffering because you're like, the hell with what they think. I'm going to stay here anyway. But they don't like you. You know this. And they are making your job a living hell, and you know this. So it's going to be up to you. You're going to have to change your outlook on things in order for things to get better. Once you clear out this negative energy, the universe will usher in some blessings for you. Now, I can't tell you to quit your job, but I can tell you to start figuring out an exit plan. And now is the time to start thinking about it with Mercury in retrograde. Okay? When it comes to friends or known enemies, Now is the time for you to figure out how you're going to defend yourself and protect yourself. Some of you may need to get a restraining order. Some of you, you may need to, somebody may have to go to prison because, with the 12th house that deals with prison as well. So some of you may have to press charges, restraining orders, things like that. That is something you may have to deal with because you have some people who are out and out fake friends or mad because you don't communicate with them anymore or you don't want to talk to them anymore. Okay, you got somebody who might be a little off and they have a problem with that. For some of you, it could be your child's mother or your child's father. And they're pissed because you won't have sex with them anymore or you won't connect with them on that level anymore. So you're going to have to figure out a way to protect yourself and defend yourself from this person because they can't get a little off. We also got Pluto in retrograde as well, right? And Saturn in retrograde. So we're dealing with karmic lovers. So we got a lot of energy going on in the next couple of, all throughout the summer here. So it's very important that you pay attention to what's going on and not underestimate these people who are around you who don't like you because they could be trying to set you up to get fired. If it's outside the job and they're enemies, you may have to get restraining orders or you have to just watch your surroundings. Make sure you're not telling people where you live and, things like that. Some of you have, like I said, your pets may not be well. Some of you need to work on your health. Some of you are using drugs and alcohol and you need to figure out why you're using it. Look at what's going on that you're not able to deal with emotionally. Accept what it is that you need to accept in the situation. All right. And that will help you to be able to quell the alcohol and drug use because you don't want to get to a point where you OD. You know what I'm saying? Now, it doesn't mean that you die when you OD, but that happens sometimes when people OD. Okay, alcohol poisoning, that's handled by the 12th house as well as escapism in the form of drugs and alcohol abuse. Okay, the 12th house also deals with jails and prisons. So again, some of you need to be careful with the enemies that you may have or the enemies that you create during this time. Okay, be very careful. Okay, this could be a very dangerous time. So that's what I got for you, Cap City. If you need a personal read, reach out to me. My information's in the box below. If this resonated in any way, please click the like button. If you would like to share how it resonated, please put that in the comments. I love you guys, and I want to see you do well. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap up this reading for the Mercury retrograde and the Sagittarius lunar eclipse.